What's going on, yo? Welcome back to basketball, and more importantly, welcome back to the spreadsheets. It is always a pleasure when we can hop back in the spreadsheets. But what are we doing today? I want to talk about the Brooklyn Nets and their potential offseason. For those of you newer to the channel, my biggest series that I've ever done, I've got my YouTube channel right here sorted by popularity, is Ideal Offseason. It's a thing that we're going to do again this summer where we're going to talk about every single NBA team and what an ideal offseason would look like. We make it very realistic. We do trades, we do real drafts and things like that. Build out the team to best align them for the regular season this next season, right? But what are we doing right here is we're kind of doing a little bit of prep for that series, right? What does that mean? We're going to take a look at kind of what the ideal offseason spreadsheet is going to look like for this next year. We're going to go through like who's on the team, currently looking at some depth charts. What does their draft capital look like? Their salary cap situation. But we're not making as many moves in this video as much as we're prepping. We want to build out our free agent targets, our trade targets, our draft boards. We've got all sorts of free agency stuff lined up here. We have some mock drafts, some trades that we're going to mock up. And that's kind of the point of today, is just starting to prep. Think about as we're going into this last point of the season, right? There's 2 weeks maybe. Is there 2 weeks left of the season? 3 weeks, I think. I don't even remember completely at this point. But if you're a Nets fan, right, you're what? The 12th seed or something right now. You're kind of just waiting to get to the offseason. You want to see if you're going to get some lottery luck, and you have quite a few picks this year. So I want to start getting you thinking about what the Nets could possibly do this offseason. And I know there's a bunch going on the screen right now, right? You see all these numbers and everything. Basically, I have imported all the EPM stats that I can get from Dunks and Threes. It's the website you guys see me log on to more often than not. These EPM numbers are basically the best way to rate somebody offensively, 1 through 100, 100 being the best, defensively, and then an overall. So it's like giving them a 2K rating, if you would. If you're curious how those stats work, go on to Dunks and Threes. They explain it. They're extremely complicated stats that are really good at individualizing people into overall numbers. And the Nets, they're not good right now. They're not good. So we're going to talk about their whole roster. We're going to talk about their draft picks, their salary cap, all that stuff. But where I kind of want to start is I think the roster, because you'll notice we have 8 roster spots left right here. And that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot. There's a lot of free agents here. Like, these are all the Nets free agents going into this offseason. You see they have quite a bit of cap space. So I want to take the time to be like, okay, who do we even have on roster going into this next season, and what are we kind of thinking with them? And for each person, we're going to set a goal for them. Do we want to keep them? Do we want to release them? Or are we like throwing them on the trade block? We're making them available. So it's like, hey, we can keep them, but we're maybe looking to move them. So we're kind of trying to make a priority list for all of our guys, right? And let's start off with Nick Claxton. Nick Claxton kind of started off this season a little bit injured, right? I think he actually missed like a good chunk of the start of the season. He came in, things got a little bit slower, and he kind of has been picking things up as the season's kind of progressed. Makes a lot of sense. Traditionally, you'd see him a lot higher defensively. He's only league average as of right now. Offensively, he's been pretty poor, but again, like everything about his game was pretty poor to start the year. He was kind of getting himself back into playing shape, and he was never much of an offensive player to begin with, right? One of the best things about Nick Claxton is he's one of those bigs that you can switch like 1 through 5 with, and he can step out and guard people. He's a rim defender. He just got a new contract that you've got 3 years on starting this next season. Well, this was the first year of his new contract, and now he's got 3 seasons left, one of them being this next year, right? So Nick Claxton, I don't see why you don't keep him, right? So I want to list him as keep. And by the way, let's add a little bit of context here. Let's even take a further step back. What is the goal if you're the Brooklyn Nets right now, right? What do we keep hearing about them? They haven't even started the rebuild yet. It starts this offseason, ideally. That's what we're hoping for if we're a Nets like a fan, or if you're within the Nets organization or something. That's what you're hoping for at this point. Because, look, you don't really have a player to build around right now. You don't. You've been kind of trying to stay competitive. You just kind of finished tearing things down a little bit post-Kyrie, Durant, Harden, Ben Simmons, all of that stuff. You have quite a few draft picks going into this next year. You hope you get a little bit of draft luck going into this year so you can get one of those stud players in the draft. But I think it's important to note that you want to have a decent place for whoever you draft to land, right? We talk a lot on this channel about having a landing pad. What does that mean? Guys like Nick Claxton and Cameron Johnson are very good quality NBA starters. And you know what? If we're going to draft somebody this year, I don't want him coming onto a team of bare bones, right? I sometimes see people in the comments being like, oh, you got to trade Nick Claxton, you got to trade Cam Johnson, you got to do all this. Guys, this isn't 2K. This is like real life stuff, right? You don't just put a rookie on a team and their overall just goes up every year. That's not how that works. You need to put them around like complementary players. You need to put vets on the team, right? So that they can build their confidence, they can build their skill set, learn from those people. Look at Cade Cunningham this year, right? And then also look at like the Orlando Magic and like where they didn't go because they didn't make the right decisions, even though we saw some early potential in them last year, right? And by the way, Apollo and Franz are hooping right now. They're doing great. The team itself is meh at best, but if you're a Nets fan, you probably want to keep a Nick Claxton and a Cameron Johnson. So I'm listing them as keep right away, right? Cameron Johnson, we know offensively awesome, defensively not as good this year. It's not like he's a bad defender. I just feel like this team is kind of all over the place this year, and you're not always going to get like A+ effort from people on this team. Look, and just looking in general, the defense isn't great on this team. We have a 33.6 overall. That's pretty tough, right? That's pretty tough, and that's like a percentile, right? So 33 percentile on average on this team. 100th percentile would be like best of the best Wembanyama type stuff. 0 would be who was the worst defender this year? It was the guy from the Jazz, Keontae George. I believe he was like the 0 percentile or whatever, which, by the way, if you guys haven't already, go watch the Jazz video from this last one and make sure, or this series, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment to my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. Go watch the player prospect breakdowns too. Those are my favorite videos on the channel. But anyway, yeah, we did a Jazz version of this, and now we're doing a Nets version. We want to keep these two, right? Because let's say we get lucky in the lottery, we get Cooper Flagg, we get Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe. Like, those are the 4 guys that everybody kind of wants, right? You're pretty happy if you get one of those. I believe the Nets are slotted to pick 6 right now, but maybe we get some lottery luck. We bring in Cooper Flagg. Great. Cooper Flagg's got a lob threat that he can play with right away like he had at Duke. He's got Cameron Johnson who can go get you 20 points on any night, and so Cooper might not even be the first guy on the scouting report every single night. That's great. We'll probably want to go find a point guard to put around him, but I at least want these 2 on the team because, like, why not? Do you need more draft picks? You just don't. Like maybe I should just talk about the draft picks now because it makes sense. Like, not all of the picks listed here, or not even all the picks are listed right here. You'll see I don't have a Nets pick listed here because it's technically like protected, but they're going to get to keep it, right? So these are all like the tradable assets that they have, and there's so many more passes. You just don't need anymore, right? Like, what is the point of trading a Cam or a Nick Claxton? I'd rather have them on the team and help develop whatever young guy we bring in. But let's move on down the list. We know Claxton and Cameron Johnson are good NBA players. Noah Clowney, who's just finishing up his 2nd season, he has a team option here. I know Nets fans are excited about Noah Clowney. I'm still not that excited about him personally. He's interesting because you have like a 6'10" guy that maybe they're trying to turn into a power forward. He's kind of like in between a power forward and a center. The 3-point shot is kind of there, right? It's kind of there. Defensively, he's pretty rough around the edges right now. He's pretty rough in my opinion. Where does he rank? Yeah, he's in the 19th percentile defensively, which is rough for a younger guy. Again, we want to cut some slack. This is not a very good team. They didn't have Nick Claxton a lot of this year, so it is just going to be harder to play defense. But I don't know. Overall, I don't know. Noah Clowney is an in-between big that can kind of shoot threes, that doesn't really rebound. Like, I'm going to keep him. Don't get me wrong. Like, we're going to set him to keep because we're a young rebuilding team. I've got him for 2 more years. I'd like to try to develop him, so why not keep him around? I just think that makes too much sense. Dariq Whitehead, also just finished up his 2nd year. They picked them like back-to-back in the draft a couple years ago. We have hardly seen this guy play any NBA basketball whatsoever. I swear in college he was a guard, and now they're trying to say he's a forward, but again, we've seen him play like maybe 10 NBA games up to this point. So just ignore his numbers. It's such a small sample size. I think he played 5 games or something this year. We're going to set him to keep because why not? But if the right trade became available, it won't most likely. I don't know who's looking to trade for someone like this at this very moment. Then cool. We're not attached to him, and if you are, you're insane because you haven't seen him play yet. But why not, right? We're not going to be that great next year most likely anyway, so let's keep him around. Keon Johnson. He's interesting, right? Because, like, if you just looked at, like, a couple of the counting stats, it's not that bad. But, like, I've got this, like, 6'5" kind of shooting guard that has never been a good shooter. He just hasn't, right? He's not a very good shooter. Defensively, he's maybe league average best, right? Where do we have him at? He's at 43rd percentile. So yeah, about league average, a little bit below league average, which again, cut him a little bit of slack because he's on the Nets, right? But I don't know. I don't really see the point of it. There's a team option on him. I don't see a point in keeping Keon on the team. So personally, I would say let's just cut our losses with him, let him go. He's not going to help whatever young guy that we bring in, right, to have some more spacing or something like that, like we might want. So we're probably going to let him go. Maxwell Lewis here, who they got as a part of like the Lakers trade for Dorian Finney-Smith earlier in the year. He only has $100K guaranteed. And we just have not seen much out of Maxwell Lewis since he's been drafted. He's kind of supposed to be an athletic wing. 3.9 overall on offense. That's his percentile. That's pretty rough. Not great defensively either. He's a 4.3 in general. There's no point in keeping that around. Give him his 100K, release him, and just move on. There's not really a point. And then we move on to Jalen Wilson, a guy that was kind of a surprise last year, right? Kind of came on out of nowhere and was showing a little bit of stuff. This year, not as great, right? Not as great. The percentages haven't looked as good, but in my opinion here, for a team option, you've got a 6'8", decently athletic wing that has shown that he can do something from outside. We don't have a great sample size of him yet, but considering where we're at and he's a little bit younger, I don't see why you don't keep him just because, look, hard to find athletic wings, right? That's what you're always looking for out of people. If there's even a chance that next year he can develop a little bit, I think it's worth keeping him around, but I'm not going to trip about it. If nothing happens, then we just let him walk this next year. And so that's the goals for the current roster, right? This is kind of what we're thinking. You'll notice I didn't put anybody like on the trade block or anything here. I don't think there's going to be much of a point to this team getting active in like the trade market this offseason unless they're buying up bad contracts. I think that could certainly be an avenue that they explore. Maybe we'll take a look at a couple of those guys because we have so much cap space, right? And if you think about it, if we get rid of both of these guys right here, then we're going to have 10 roster spots, most likely, right? We're going to have at least 10. And just looking at the depth chart right now, what can we take on? We can take on really anything. We've got our starting center and a starting wing for next year because who knows, maybe it's Cooper Flagg there, maybe it's not, I don't know, but we're really weak at the guard position right now, and it's okay. We're not trying to win a championship next year by any means. We're just trying to build something that has a sturdy enough base to show up every single night, right? As we try to develop whoever we draft this year. Because again, we've got like 4 first-round picks. We're going to spend a lot of time getting those young guys on the court, so we got to have ample vets around them to help them out. It can be scary as someone who's been a player development coach to have that many young guys out there. It's a lot to manage at once. And again, look at our salary cap situation. We do have 8 roster spots to fill. We have $81 million before we even like cross the cap right now. And for those of you unfamiliar, these are the 4 levels of the NBA salary cap right here. I'll zoom in on it. You've got the cap in itself, pretty basic. Once this would hit 0, you're over the cap. Then you have luxury tax once you cross this number here, or once this number gets to 0, then your team gets more expensive. Then the first and second aprons kick in. You hear about those all the time. It's what the NBA threw in to basically try to mitigate star players being traded all the time, try to keep diversity going in the league where it's like, okay, this team can only be good for so long because the aprons really restrict what you're able to do in terms of what you can trade and what you can't. And so they're just there to try to bring a little bit of balance to the NBA, right? And it somewhat failed this year because Luka was traded, but that was just idiocracy at its finest, I guess. But this is what we're looking at for the team right now. If we take a look at the draft picks, like I said, we have a ton this year. The 2026, not as many. It's not a big deal. We're going to have 4 sophomore players most likely at that point anyway. Then we've got 3 again in 2027, which who knows, maybe we don't get this pick, maybe we do, and we just have plenty of picks going forward, right? I didn't even get to list the 2030s or the 31s or anything like that, right? So we're trying to do well in this draft. Maybe we want to stockpile or compile 2 of these picks into like one higher pick or something like that, or maybe another pick next year so that you can spread out the talent. But if you like some people, like in this year's class, because it's a pretty good draft class, maybe you just want to take them now and say, hey, 1 or 2 of them's got to work out, right? And I don't think that's such a bad plan considering where they're at right now. But again, we got to make sure there's vets on the team. So what do we want to do first? I think what we want to do is take a look at some potential trade targets here. I don't think I'm going to put 5 people on here. And I think the only thing we're really going to do when we go over here to Fanspo to talk trades is we want to take a look at some of the worst contracts in the NBA and say, okay, Could we help a team out in absorbing that contract? Maybe they give us something else along with, well, they would have to give us something else, right? Probably a draft pick or something like that. Maybe it's a young player they want to attach to it that we find kind of interesting, just because, again, we have the cap space. We might as well utilize that. There's only so many teams that actually have it. I don't think we're going after like some star-studded free agents or anything like that. So I'd rather just see what we can bring in that could help out whatever young players we're going to draft, right? So honestly, the best thing to do is if we go over to Basketball Reference here, we can sort by contracts. And what I kind of want to do is just scroll through here and see what contracts are maybe worth trying to like snag off of somebody else, somebody that somebody doesn't want, right? Who could that be? All right, there's a couple people as soon as I start to get down here into the 50s. So I see Jeremy Grant, I see Julius Randle, and I see CJ McCollum. All guys that I don't think need to be on their current teams, right? Like the Timberwolves, you could probably say they wouldn't mind getting off of Julius Randle. Let's say he accepts his player option going into this next year. Maybe, just maybe, the Timberwolves would rather just get off the money. I don't know if we have somebody to trade. I don't know if we want to trade Cameron Johnson necessarily for that. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like, would I rather have Cameron Johnson than Julius Randle? Most likely, yes. But it wouldn't be the worst thing because Julius Randle just kind of is a better NBA player. It wouldn't be the worst thing either to kind of say, like, okay, we've got Julius Randle here. Maybe we get like an Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper and they've just got a guy that they can really just dump the ball to and let them go to work sometimes. Makes their life a little bit easier for their first year in the NBA. I'm not opposed to that. So I think at the very least, we want to throw some of these guys on here. So again, I think Jeremy Grant, they're probably trying to get rid of him in Portland, right? So I wouldn't mind throwing Jeremy Grant onto one of our trade targets here. So let's throw old Jeremy Grant on here. There's the picture. Look at that. I know how to build a spreadsheet. For those of you not aware and you're new to the channel, these spreadsheets are just something that I like to build. You can throw them together in 15 minutes and they really help illustrate the story that you're trying to tell here. So let's throw Julius Randle onto here as well. Very cool. And then what was the other one I listed? CJ McCollum. All of these guys could help out whatever young guy we're going to bring in next year, right? Guys that we can take in. They're going to be like solid contributors, going to cost us a decent amount of money, but we've got the money to spend anyway. And maybe they attach like a draft pick or something here to make it happen. So just a couple quick ideas there. Again, I don't know if I need to go any further into this. Like if a guy like a Devin Vassell became available, I know that might be a conversation this offseason. That's probably a guy I want to check in on. Oh, you know what? There actually is a name that I do want to check in on because again, we want good, young, talented players. The Memphis Grizzlies are so deep that they can just afford to get rid of some people. If a guy like a G.G. Jackson was available, I really like him as like a talented young player, and he's like 10th guy, it feels like, on their team at this point. I would be very interested in bringing him on the team. He's 20 years old, decent shooter, like decent handle. He's got good size. He's athletic. Like give him some minutes here. So I want to make sure I throw G.G. Jackson onto this list. Just we have to give them a call, right? Like we as the Nets have to give them a call to be like, hey, you interested? Because here's the thing, right? Just looking at the draft picks that we have, I'll give you my latest like first round pick this year for him. I'll give it to you. It's all yours, Memphis. Like you can have it. You can do that, and then maybe it's Jalen Wilson or something. Maybe you get him. Hell, you can have maybe 2 of my later first round picks for him, just because maybe not that many, but maybe like a couple seconds or things like that. Give them some more trade assets or something. But man, I'd love to get my hands on a young guy like that. I think that could be really interesting. So I think that's all we're gonna fill out for the trade targets for now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the draft. And how are we going to do the draft? We're going to go over to Fanspo. Fanspo's awesome. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a lot of fun. And we're going to go do a mock draft. We've got the Brooklyn Nets pulled up. We're just going to do a typical lottery, right? If the lottery worked out perfectly in the sense that it just went like 1 through 14. That's how we're going to do things. So this mock draft is going to run. Dylan Harper went first for some reason. Cooper Flagg didn't go second either. He went third to Charlotte somehow. Okay, you know what? It's weird sometimes, but more often than not, this thing keeps it pretty realistic. So we've got the 6th pick, right? We're Brooklyn. We also have the 19th, 26th, and 27th. Again, if I package the 26th and 27th for G.G. Jackson, I'd be pretty happy with that, right? So here's kind of what I want to do with this. I want to pick out like 1 or 2 draft targets for this 19th pick, right here, or for this 6th pick, and then 1 or 2 for this 19th, and then we'll kind of pick one for the 26th and 27th pick. We'll still go and finish the whole mock draft, just because why not, to see who else we could potentially pick. I don't probably need this 2nd round pick, so maybe we just say hypothetically we're taking this 27th pick, this 35th pick, and we're going and trying to get a G.G. Jackson by combining it with somebody else somehow, right? Maybe we do a sign-in trade for one of our other guys, like a Cam Thomas or something. I don't know. That's probably too much for G.G. Jackson at that point. But you guys are getting the idea, right? Is that those are some of the things that we'll do in the ideal offseason video, is actually kind of mock that out. But ideally, I want to pick out 1 or 2 people that I'd like to get with the 6th pick, 1 or 2 that I'd like to get with the 19th pick, and then somebody around this range as well. So we got the 6th pick. Yaku Chonis is here. You guys know he's probably my favorite available out of these guys on here, because who just went in the draft? Trey Johnson ended up going 5 to Philly. I could totally see that happening. They didn't need another point guard. Yaku Chonis, I think, can be a starting NBA point guard day one. I think his playmaking is really elite. Obviously, if we were to make like a real draft board for these guys, it would be Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, right? But let's just, we have to plan for the numbers, right? And this is where we're projected to go. So I would say Yaku Chonis, probably the first guy to pick here. After that, it probably would be Trey Johnson here. Just pure score. He's got the he has the upside to be a 20-point-a-game scorer in the NBA because he's such a bucket getter. He makes Cam Thomas pretty redundant at that point, and we'll talk about like who we might want to retain from our free agents later. But I don't think there's much of a point to keeping Cam Thomas around anyway. So here's what I'll say. If Yaku Chonis is who we end up picking here, you probably want to bring Cam Thomas back, depending on what he wants salary-wise. If you're picking Trey Johnson, probably not. Then maybe you're calling D'Angelo Russell, right? So that's kind of how I would look at this. But I'd say for now, we're going to put Yaku Chonis down, and we're going to put Trey Johnson. So let's throw both of these guys on the big board. There's Yaku Chonis, there's Trey Johnson. So those are the 2 guys that we're targeting right now. We're going for upside right here. We think both of these guys have potential to be NBA starters. I think Yaku Chonis can be a really nice NBA point guard. I think he could be like a really good scorer. So fair enough. We want to go get one of those guys if we can't get one of the top 4 picks in the draft. In this case, we're just going to take Yaku Chonis and move on. And now we're going to wait for this 19th pick to come up and kind of see who's available by the time we roll around. Just looking at like the rest of the team right here, I mean, what else do we want? We're probably still swinging for some upside, right? Because there's just not a ton on the team right now. So if there's somebody like that available, cool. We definitely don't need another point guard at this point, or another guard, considering that's probably who we drafted already. So maybe a forward would be ideal here, and that's typically when you start to kind of see these guys become available. All right, so already we see Rasheer Fleming on there. This is when everybody gets excited. And on my channel, if you guys haven't seen it already, go watch the Rasheer Fleming video here. He's a fun prospect. By the way, seriously, go watch these videos. They get claimed by YouTube all the time. This one already has the VJ Edgecombe one, but they're my favorite videos on the channel. So if Rasheer Fleming's available around here, which presumably he is, that's probably not a bad guy to go get. We think that he could be a nice role player in the NBA, kind of a 3-and-D guy that's got a little bit of athleticism to him. He is a junior, so again, I'm not sure I see like future NBA starter per se, but why not, right? But if we want to talk more potential, Carter Bryant's an option. What are the kinds of pros and cons you get with these guys, right? Rasheer Fleming has shown that he can kind of do it here. Carter Bryant's not a guy that has necessarily shown like a ton yet. Like, we've seen some flashes of the young guy at Arizona. He's a nice athlete. We've seen a little bit from the outside. Honestly, defensively, he's looked pretty solid in my mind, but some of the things like the passing and a couple of the ball handling moments, just kind of lack of maturity stuff, right, isn't quite there yet, but we also have time, right? So I think how I would see this pick is like, okay, Fleming, that's a guy we definitely want. There's other interesting guys here, don't get me wrong. Like Sorber, I think, is an interesting talent. Hugo Gonzalez is an interesting talent. Nick Clifford, Will Riley. honestly is a decent option here. Honestly, he might even be a better option than Carter Bryant, in my opinion, just because we did see some moments. It'd be kind of cool to take Yakuchonis and Will Riley here, both from Illinois. We've seen the moments of Riley where he's got some of that athleticism. He's 6'8", shown a little bit from the outside, can handle a little bit. I don't think he can quite handle it at the NBA level, but if Yakuchonis is there, he doesn't necessarily have to. So I think who we want to put down actually is Fleming and Will Riley for this one. And based on who's available, I think that that's kind of how we're going to attack the 19th pick. So let's add these guys to the list. We're going to add Mr. Rasheer Fleming, and then we're going to add Will Riley here. So this is what our draft board's looking like currently. I'm going to say Rasheer Fleming is our first choice, so we're going to draft him. So we've taken a guard at this point, potentially, between Yakuchonis and Trey Johnson, and now we're taking some sort of forward here that we're hoping can be a nice rotational player for us down the line. Now we're waiting for the 26th, 27th pick, so we're going to look around here to see who's still available. And look, we might get a Will Riley and a who am I talking about? Rasheer Fleming here, because he's still on the board at this point. That's great, right? Maybe we are able to get both of them and we're just chilling, right? We also have the another pick coming up after this at 27, so we could get a couple people, and I'd like to use all of these picks. I see Janai Broom on here. I like Janai Broom a lot. There's Miles Byard, or Bird, however you say it. Again, kind of a younger guy that can handle the rock a little bit. Maybe he can play the forward, maybe he can't. There's Dink Pate coming out of the G League already. I like Janai Broom a lot, personally. I think it'd be kind of cool to take more of a a veteran player at this point. Maybe we've already taken Fleming, maybe we haven't. Maybe in this hypothetical we're taking a Will Riley here. Yay, we're super excited. We got Fleming and Riley, right? And now we've also got the 27th pick. Okay, we've taken a lot of upside guys at this point. Let's go get one of the seniors that he's got a big body to him. He can play a backup center role for us right away. He's got a decent amount of skill. I do think he like Janai Broom is going to be a nice backup big in the NBA. So I wouldn't mind putting him on our draft board for kind of this late first round here. Just like, hey, let's just go get someone that we know can kind of contribute day one. So let's throw Mr. Broom on here then. So this is what our big board's looking like. A lot of orange on here, a whole lot of orange coming in this this next year potentially. So this is kind of who we're looking at around the 6th pick, right? Kind of that middle first round. This is what we're looking for, kind of around there. And then our late first round, we'd like to end up with one of these guys. And very well, we could go with just like a Yakuchonis, Rasheer Fleming, Will Riley, Janai Broom. Like, we could very well get 4 of the 5 guys on this board, which is really interesting. I think that'd give us a lot of upside, some guys that can contribute right away more so in Broom. I'd be excited about that. So that's kind of the draft at this point, right? If we wanted to finish it off, okay, we'll take Janai Broom. And just because I know some of you are going to want to see, what would you want him to do with the 2nd round pick or something? I don't know. Again, I'd probably try to package it into something else. And we only did the 1st round anyway, but maybe that's when you get into like a Dink Pate or something like that. Again, maybe more of a wing. I don't know, but this would be a pretty solid thing to walk away with if I was a Nets fan. So that's that. Let's talk about free agency. What are we looking for here? Most importantly, we're going to start off with the guys from our own team, right? I think that that's important. And like, we're not going to put guys from our own team on here. These are guys that weren't on the team for the previous season that I want to list here. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about. So D'Angelo Russell and Cam Thomas are the best 2 players, right? That that are free agents this year. D'Angelo Russell, unrestricted free agent. Cam Thomas, restricted free agent. We could bring him back if we wanted to, right? I think that a lot of it's going to depend on what Cam Thomas is trying to get paid, if someone else is willing to pay him, because if somebody's going to give him a reasonable contract, I'd be willing to match it, right? I don't want to pay him like 27+ million a year. Like, I could maybe get behind 22 to 24, maybe 25. I'm not sure I want to go much higher than that. That's when I start to have a decision to make. But here's the other thing, right? If we take a Trey Johnson, like we kind of talked about, there's not as much of a point in bringing him back. There's a lot of redundancy there. So if we take Yakuchonis, I'm a little bit more willing to pay Cam Thomas for 3 to 4 years. Because look, we're not going to be competitive in the next 3 to 4 years, most likely anyway. Maybe at the back half of like year 4 would be nice, but like realistically, that's not going to happen, right? And then vice versa here. If we go and take Trey Johnson, I'd like someone else to kind of be distributing the basketball, and that's when I'm like, okay, let me go give D'Angelo Russell 2 years, $60 million with a player option or something, right? I know that seems like a lot of money for a starter in the NBA. That's kind of a going rate right now, but I figured 2 years, you get a quality starting point guard, right? There's a player option, so if he just crushes it and he wants to go somewhere else, fine, he can go somewhere else, he can opt out, but then if not, he's getting another payday, right? Good for him. We don't have to discuss it too much. Nice and easy, right? So that's kind of how I'm seeing D'Lo and Cam Thomas. Who else is going to be interesting here? Zaire Williams is a restricted free agent. I don't think we've seen enough out of him to want to bring him back. It was worth the experiment. I'm not that curious about him. Trendon Watford, shout out to him for getting in that little shouting match with Tyrese Halliburton. He was low-key winning that battle with the stuff he was saying, but Trendon Watford's still like not that great of an NBA player, so probably letting him go. Deron Sharp, restricted free agent. I don't see what he could possibly get that wouldn't make me want to match his contract. So I would say, especially for how hard it is to find bigs, worst case scenario, if we did bring in a Janai Broom and we like him as our backup center, then we bring Deron Sharp back, we trade him. Everybody needs bigs right now, so I don't see why we wouldn't bring Sharp back. Again, I don't know how much he's getting. I can't imagine he's getting more than $10 million a year, so I think it's a pretty cheap contract that we can bring in. Keon Johnson, we kind of already talked about the club option there. Jalen Wilson. Tyrese Martin, he's on a two-way. Is he not? Is he not on a two-way at this point? I thought Tyrese Martin was on a two-way. He's actually an interesting player. If he truly has a club option, is that correct? Is that actually correct? Can we pull up Tyrese Martin here, because I don't remember that being true about his contract. Okay, they don't actually have anything on here for him. Can I find Tyrese Martin? They don't even have him on this list. Christ almighty, what is going on? I might have just like spelt things incorrectly or something, but he doesn't actually have like a team option, does he? Let's go take a look at the contract, current contract. He's just, it doesn't list anything. I don't think he's like an official NBA contract. I could have sworn he was like a converted two-way or something. So he'd be an interesting guy that if he wanted to come back on another minimum, you could talk me into it, just because of like the 3-point percentage has actually been kind of solid for a guy that's 6'6", right? Because what are we looking at for current percentages? 8 points per game, 8.5, 35% from three on almost 5 attempts a game. It's league average. Like, we take that overall. Like, we totally take that. Can I get some numbers on Mr. Martin here? I don't even have him on the list because he doesn't have like an official contract. So that's interesting. Correct me in the comments if something's wrong here. I don't remember him having an actual contract, but he'd be a guy I'd be okay with bringing back. Beekman, yeah, he's a two-way guy. I know that for sure, and I don't need to bring back Beekman. So that's kind of what we're thinking here. So either one of the D'Angelo Russell, Cam Thomas, right? It becomes a little bit different if we take a Cooper Flagg or like a an Ace Bailey, right? Then you could talk me into both of them somehow. Again, it depends on the price a little bit, but you could talk me into it most likely. Then the rest of them, no, except for Deron Sharp, we're willing to take him back most likely, saying or making sure that nothing crazy happens, right? So then we go and look and we say, okay, in theory at this point, we've added a couple of rookies to the team. Let's just say it worked out kind of how we thought it might, and Mr. Fleming gets added to the team. I didn't actually put more than 3 rookie spots on here, so let's just say we added like a Will Riley as well. So let's say we actually have 4 roster spots left to fill. Maybe we released these 2 guys, right? We didn't bring them back. We ended up bringing back Mr. Deron Sharp. Cam Thomas is potentially on the team, either one of him or D'Angelo Russell. I'm just doing this for the counting spots. I'm just gonna put like any name down here. Just here's Talen Horton Tucker if you want. He's not actually on the team, but I'm just trying to get a sense for how many spots we have. We might have added like a GG Jackson or something at this point potentially. So again, just trying to get a sense. We need like 3 guys in free agency. Okay, we're going to have a ton of money to spend still. Again, these guys are going to have contracts behind them. These guys would have contracts behind them. So let's just say we got him for, I don't know, like $5 million or something like that. Upper 20s, right? And then rookie scale contracts. We're going to be able to pay anybody. But who do we want at that point, right? Who do we want? We did good at drafting. We're going to pick up a guard somewhere else. So we've kind of probably got the starting five figured out to an extent. Maybe we need another starting wing. And so maybe I go and take a look at that. Let's go take a look at other forwards. Who's available? Chris Middleton as a player option. I could afford to pay him. Duncan Robinson, we could maybe go add him to like our trade target list. He wouldn't be a bad guy to go and find. I wouldn't hate that if they want to give us Duncan Robinson just to have some floor spacing, someone that for Yaku Chonis or Trey Johnson, depending on who we get to potentially give the ball to. I wouldn't hate that idea. I kind of want to put Duncan Robinson on this list. Like, yeah, you guys can pay us to take him on. I wouldn't hate that. So that's an option for us. Who else is really out there? Kelly Oubre is always an option that we can just go pay. A Jayshawn Tate could be an interesting one just to see what we can get out of him. He's not the young guy that he was once looked at to be, but he's an option. Otherwise, I don't know. Jake LaRavia is an unrestricted free agent. He could be a guy we could try to capitalize on. I'm going to guess the Kings are going to try to keep him, though. Taurean Prince is another option as well. I think I can't imagine Taurean Prince wants to go to us, but maybe he just wants a payday because he hasn't gotten one in a little while. So I kind of want to put him on the list just for that reason. So let me at least put down like Taurean Prince, just as like, again, a potential wing that we can pay a little bit of money to. He could become a trade piece. Again, maybe you give him like the 2-year $30 million contract. He's getting $15 million a year, right? Maybe he's an easy guy to trade then because we've seen the 3-and-D be so solid for him this year, and he plays okay for us. We do what we did with Dorian Finney-Smith, turn him into a couple second-round picks at some point, right? If we really need to, but in the time being, he helps our young players develop. Cool. Not the worst thing in the world. Otherwise, I think what I want to do is like, I want to take a look at like age, most likely. Like, what kind of vets can we bring in to try to help this team? Wouldn't be bad to have like an experienced guard on this team. Are we giving Russell Westbrook a contract? Probably not. A Seth Curry? I don't know. Can I get an experienced guard on this team? Who can I pay? I could pay Fred VanVleet. I could give him a little something. Malcolm Brogdon, potentially. I don't know, though. Dennis Schroeder. I don't even know if we can actually sign Dennis Schroeder at this point. Trey Jones would be an interesting one to go after. Otherwise, I don't know. Like a Javon Carter would be kind of cool as well. He's been like underutilized, but I have to imagine he's taking his player option. Aaron Holiday, Trey Mann. He's a restricted free agent. I would throw something at Trey Mann potentially. Spencer Dinwiddie, unrestricted free agent. Bring him back to Brooklyn. Wouldn't be mad at that. So I think I at least want to put Spencer Dinwiddie on the list. He kind of fits that role of like the in-between, like kind of veteran guard, if you would. So I like the idea of a Spencer Dinwiddie as a potential option. What other free agents could we possibly want? Like, what young guys are available that we could try to capitalize on? Let's sort this way. Monty Bates, Justin Edwards has a club option. Free agency types. It doesn't let me sort by like multiple of them. That's a little bit annoying. Hood Shafino, I'm not really interested in. Vukacic is interesting. Kaminga, I mean, shit, do we just throw something at Kaminga because we can? We definitely have to, right? Like, there's enough talent there that we say, let's at least throw something at him. I mean, what, do you throw $28 million a year at him? And worst case scenario, the Warriors have to pay that much? Maybe, because, like, he's not even, like, Jalen Johnson level good, in my opinion. Jalen got, what, like 30? So maybe we just do something like that. We throw some money at Kaminga because we can. See if he turns into something. It's not the biggest deal if he doesn't within 4 seasons. I'm not going to be like mad about it because we're just trying to build something up right now anyway. I don't know. If we can get him for cheap enough, then yeah. I like the Jake LaRavia shout. He's probably another guy that it's like, yeah, can we turn him into something? Then maybe. Do I have LaRavia on here? I don't even have LaRavia on here. Well, just imagine that Jake LaRavia is on there. Whoa, look at that movie magic. There's Jake LaRavia. Wow, funny how that stuff works, right? Any other young guys that we'd be interested in bringing in? Because just looking at like the team that we'd have, a couple vets here, potentially bringing back 1 or 2 more. It wouldn't be the worst thing to go and try and find maybe like one more veteran player. I'm not sure I need like another guy that's that young on the team. We're gonna have 4 rookies potentially. So yeah, I think I want to go look at some other people. Tim Hardaway Jr. could be a solid option, honestly. Just a veteran guy that can go out and space the floor. I like a Tim Hardaway Jr. shout. Let's throw that one on there. I'm cool with that one. So let's take a look at Tim Hardaway Jr. There we go. We've built our boards, y'all. That's it for the Brooklyn Nets. So what is our game plan going in for things? We want to keep guys that are going to have us have a landing pad, right, for whoever we're drafting. We want to make sure that there's some solid players that can help them contribute right away. We've got quite a few rookies that we're going to be interested in. We're shooting for the fence a little bit more right now. This is a good draft. We're looking for potential. The rebuild kind of starts now. We're going to try to capitalize on a couple people in the trade market. Maybe these guys are available. We can bring them in because they can at least contribute for us for a little bit. We can afford to pay them. It's not a big deal. We're going to try to steal maybe a G.G. Jackson. If Duncan Robin's another one we can throw on the list to kind of play the wing for us. Got some free agent targets here. We'll take a shot at Kuminga, maybe just a couple vets to add to the team right away to help develop our multiple rookies. I think that's going to be important. Like I said, we kind of filled out our draft board here, and we're going to have a lot of money. Goal for next year, get young players, get them on the court first year of the rebuild, see what we got, try to develop them, right? That's the goal right now. And then go into this next draft class and try to crush it again. I think that's the goal right now. It's the beginning of the rebuild. It's fine. But anyway, I appreciate you guys for watching this Brooklyn Nets version. If you guys like this series, great. I'm not sure I'll keep it going. It depends on the views that they get. Because like how'd the last one do? It did solid. Like it did solid overall, about 600. That's solid, right? I can't complain about that. But yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. Stay tuned for the comments of the video. Alrighty, y'all, comment of the video comes from the best and worst ways each NBA team's season could end. Go give it a watch. Again, go give the player breakdown ones a watch because I'm probably not going to make any money off those whatsoever. And the comment of the video comes from Raider Tupac here. You might have been a comment to the video at another point. He said, best way I see the season ending, anyone but Boston and Cleveland winning. To which I said, oh, we're putting you on hater watch. That is insane. To which he responded, never liked watching the Duncan Spurs either. Insane take. But he said, I like hot sauce on my fish. I'm like, that's quote of the day. That's a bar. I don't know what that is if it's not a bar, but hey, fair enough. I appreciate that you're willing to kind of admit to a little bit of the hater-esque or the hater-esque stuff. I appreciate that. But seriously, go leave me a comment. I respond to every single one, as you guys see. I've got ones to respond to here. And go join the Discord. We are chatting on the Discord all the time, so why aren't you on it? I don't understand. Go talk hoops with other basketball sickos. That's what we're here to do. But hey, as always, I appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye.